Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Are you in that place in your life right now where it's hard sometimes to see the light at the end of the tunnel with your manifestation? Is it hard to believe that there's any chance that things are going to work out for you? Do you have a hard time when you're doing your techniques of actually believing in what you're doing to the point where you can actually feel it, where you can live in the end? You feel like for some reason, I can't do this. In a lot of cases, this really ties into our expectations. And now, in law of attraction circles, expectations typically thought of solely from the vantage point of when you manifest or imagine, expect your results to occur, have that be your expectation, and that helps create and bring about that sort of experience. Absolutely true, without a doubt. One of the other things that's on that same front, but we don't think about typically, is whatever you expect not to happen tends not to happen as well. Great example that a psychologist was using. I believe her name was Jennice Vilhauer. And she stood up in front of a bunch of people and said, how many of you guys played the lotto before? A bunch of hands went up. She said, how many of you guys want to win the lottery? All these hands went up. Then she said, how many of you played the lotto recently? And a bunch of the hands went down. And she says, I don't have to be a psychologist to explain why that happened. And the reason it happens is because so many of us, yes, we want to be lotto millionaires. Yes, we want to win the lottery. But we don't play it because we don't believe we actually can win. Now, if your actually desire is to want and win the lottery and you never actually play the lottery, well, winning becomes impossible, doesn't it? So there's places where our expectations actually hold us back. Now, oftentimes expectations come from things that have happened in the past, experiences that you've had before. And so because of those experiences, whenever anything pops up, whether you want it or not, if it pops up, you already assume that it's not going to work, law of assumption. You already assume it's not going to work because that's what happened last time. And so you either A, don't do things that could help you, B, don't entertain thoughts that will help create this outcome, and C, you actually tend to entertain thoughts of the opposite. How I'll never get out of this problem. I'll never fix this. I'll never resolve this issue I have with Joe or this issue I have with Veronica, or I'll never get back together, or I'll never get my boss to forgive me for screwing up the Johnson account. The fact is, we have to have some sort of faith that there's a better tomorrow, some sort of hope that there's a way to get out of this. Now, that's what law of attraction is always talking about. Obviously, that's why you're here. You've heard there's a way to fix this. Awesome, you're right. But it requires us to look at some of the bigger pictures that we've got going on in our life. So first thing, one of the keys, being in touch with your wants, for sure. What is it that you want? And then you notice your expectations. If your expectations and your wants are not in desire, you'll actually find that you tend to be a little more bummed, you tend to be a little more depressed, you tend to be a little more unhappy about life and about your chances. Now, on the contrary, when your expectations actually align with what your wants are, well, then you feel quite joyous, quite happy. Glass is half full all the time because there's always this desire, there's always this knowing, there's always this expectation that tomorrow can be a brighter day. But when you see the other side of that coin, you tend to actually feel much worse. And when you're coming at things from that angle, that sort of lower vibrational energy, one, we've talked about thought transmissions many times. That's what you're sending out. That's what people feel. That's kind of what you're talking about. You're a little woe is me sometimes, maybe, right? We've got that kind of feeling going on. Not cool. We don't believe there's a better hope, so we kind of get a little dreary just in our thought processes. And on top of that, every time we watch one of these law of attraction videos and then try the techniques, we have a hard time. We're blocked. We can't see it. It's just too hard to believe. The second I stop doing the technique, it's like, this is never going to happen. This doesn't work. And we fall back on those beliefs. And guess what? When your expectations don't align with your wants, one, like I said, you're not going to feel good about it. But two, you're actually going to make choices that will contradict what you desire. Been talking a lot about consciousness and us being the captains of our ship and our subconscious being the crew. And when your wants are of the crew and yourself, everyone's in alignment, that's your want, but your expectations, conscious mind basically, is saying, no, this doesn't happen, it doesn't work, I'm going to go ahead and make a quick decision every time in the past that I've ever had this experience, it's not worked out for me. So my expectation is this isn't going to work, I'm not going to do it. Even though your wants are like, no, do it, this is different this time, it's better, there's a reason, there's something different, X, Y, and Z is not there, this person actually cares, whatever. But you hold an expectation of something else, and that's what you end up experiencing and choosing. So you don't get your dream or choice. One of the examples that she also shared that was fantastic was a client of hers who was trying to date online, and she was interested in men, but she had had so many bad experiences. People were not remembering to bring their wallets, quote unquote, just all sorts of bad experiences. So that was her expectation. So she gets this date opportunity, and she apparently went right after yoga. So she was just sweaty and gross and not in her best place and just wasn't dressed very well for the situation, and ended up meeting the perfect guy. Everything about this guy was exactly what she was looking for. Everything. Down to the minusculest details. But she didn't expect it to work out. And guess what? It didn't. She had the opportunity in front of her. Everything that she was looking for, that she had been mentally manifesting. But since her expectations were of something else, she completely sabotaged herself. Now, I know a lot of you right now are going, Dan, how can I fix this? How can I make this better? How can I improve this situation? Fortunately, Jennice had a great 3-step option that really made a big difference. And again, to my point, it really helped me solidify my life. Like for me, hope springs eternal. It's one thing I've always said. It's one thing I've held on to. And I will say the darkest moments in my life have always been the times where I didn't have hope. So one thing I always want to inspire to people, and it's why I try to do videos that are a little more on the inspiring side. I talk about all sorts of crazy subjects, but it's that feeling of hope and getting that back inside of ourselves. And that is extremely powerful. So the 3 steps that we do. First thing you're going to want to do. How do you feel about this want? You've got a desire to do something. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about your expectations of it? And if it feels good, feels like something that can happen, that's where they talk about naturalness, right? How is your expectation? Like, yeah, you feel good about what it is that you're trying to manifest, and you feel good about your thoughts of the direction you're heading in, and you feel good about your expectations of the outcome. If your answer is, I feel good, then cool, stop, done. Seriously, steps 2 and 3 do not apply, don't need them. You're on your path, keep doing what you're doing, you're well on your way. But if you think of your wants, say for example, there's a specific person you want, but you guys maybe ended things on a tough note, or maybe they live far away. So when you think about wanting them, I want to be with so-and-so, but my expectations are that they're not going to forgive me. My expectations are that they're still angry with me. My expectations are they still don't talk to me, so doesn't look like there's a chance for us. If your expectations are on that sort of side, how do you feel about it? And I'm going to assume, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you're going to feel cruddy. You don't feel good. It's not something that you like. It's not an appreciable feeling. So, one good news first, we know we have a problem. That's awesome. I've talked about it frequently. Acknowledging and seeing the issues are key. So we've found a problem. We have a desire that our expectations are not in alignment with. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel natural. It feels hard to do. Step 2, what would you like to have instead? What would you like to have? Example, with the specific person that's not currently talking to you. Would you like to have more discussions with them? I know, say, living in the end, we've talked about, well, I want to be in the relationship, and that's what you always say, Dan. True, yes. But if it's not natural where you're at with things, then maybe take a step back, and I've definitely said that too. If the end result is too far down the road to feel natural, bring it in a hair. So if you're not feeling natural, bring it in a hair. If you're wanting them just to talk to you, like to be able to get a dialogue going so you can at least get a chance to kind of iron things out, then let's talk about that. Let's make that our want for right now. And how do you feel about that expectation? Is that something that's possible? Is that something that you can get behind and go, yeah, no, I could see that happen. And they'll reach out every once in a while. They text me. I totally can believe that. Then now we're finding direction. Now we're finding a way towards this hopelessness that we had moments ago. Now we're finding something that we can get behind and believe and actually get an expectation of, well, all right, yeah, I could get them, I could for sure manifest a text message from them or manifest a little more communication with them. So I'm going to live in the end. I'm going to imagine receiving a text message and how excited I am that they're reaching out to me. And it's actually a nice message. Kind of made me tear up. I remember every time I see it, it's just special. So I get this really awesome feeling. And I'm now manifesting a text message. I see it's from you. I see it pop up. I can see it in my mind's eye, and I feel the excitement. Awesome. Text message is now on your way, and your expectation is that I'll get a text message from them. Now, when you do that, it puts us into step 3, believe it or not, which step 3 is, what do you need to do to make this happen? Now, I don't want to get too hung up from the law of attraction standpoint, because a lot of people get mad at the doing, not doing, blah, blah, blah. That's not where we're going with it. But what she means by doing is when you're open to your expectation and your desires in line with it, what it does is it creates a consciousness of success. Goddard's talked about it. Joseph Murphy's talked about it. They've all talked about creating this consciousness of success, of having it already, of knowing that you can have this. When you do that, much like she says, when you can get your conscious and subconscious, when you can get your beliefs and expectations in line with your wants, when you can get everything working together, it creates opportunities. It creates outcomes. It creates thoughts that will pop into your head. Things will happen that will help you step in the direction. Stepping stones end up getting created. Maybe you can't see them yet, but trust me, when you put your foot out, you'll know where to step, and you'll set it down, and you'll be like, yeah, it was one of the stepping stones. Rad. It'll happen. Just by the very nature of having your wants and expectations in alignment. One of the greatest feelings ever is having your wants and expectations, one, not only in alignment, but it feels amazing because you live life with hope and purpose, and you wake up in the mornings looking forward to what's coming. But also on top of that, when you have these things in alignment, when you are doing these things correctly, your manifestation process happens ridiculously fast. It is amazing when you can get your mind, your subconscious, all these pieces lined up. And expectations, the way she explained it was so beautiful. Because if you expect to get a reward, you feel happy and you're going to do whatever it is. But if you expect something to fail, you won't do it. You're not going to, even if that might have been inspired action, if you will. But because I've got expectations, because I've got beliefs, I use these terms interchangeably, I think they're similar. I've got this belief or expectation that this isn't going to work, even though I want to, and I've got this desire to, like my heart's like, no, seriously, try this. And you're like, nah, it's not going to work. And that's almost how you know, because it's an afterthought. Like you get this implant into your head like, hey, text him real quick. And you're like, no, last time I texted him, he got all mad. And don't reach out to your favorite YouTuber and say, I just had a feeling to text somebody. Should I do it? No, do it. You get a feeling, do it. What's the worst thing that happens? But that being said, if you get those feelings, and just because it didn't work last time doesn't mean it's not going to this time. Yes, I can hear everyone screaming, doing the same thing over and over with the hopes of a different outcome. That's called insanity. I agree. So don't be duplicating circles or cycles that you keep going through. But at the same time, where you didn't have belief, where you didn't think something was possible, let's shift that want and that expectation to a place where they can meet together, or what Goddard calls a natural place. Let's get your intention point where your heart and mind are coming at this together. Let's get them in a place where everybody's in agreement. And when you do that, when your expectations see a light at the end of the tunnel and your wants are in line with that, you naturally become happier. Without manifesting anything, you're happier from inside because you know that there's a way forward. And for all of you, everybody, there's a way forward, always. The point is to believe there's a way forward first, and then you start to see what it is. So long as you don't believe it's there, so long as your expectation is there's no way, then there is no way. There's no way to win the lottery if you don't get a ticket. You have to have the ticket to win. So you can want to win millions all you want, but if you're not doing the thing, if your expectation, if you do this, is that it won't work, then how can you have what your want is suggesting for you? Listen to your wants, get your expectations in line with them, and stars the limit for you. It's Dan Radio Style.